In the 18th century, the world witnessed a seismic shift in thought and governance. Revolutionary ideas took root in the minds of the people, challenging centuries of tradition. From the colonies of North America to the streets of Paris, a wave of change was about to transform societies forever. The Age of Enlightenment was characterized by a surge of new ideas about liberty, equality, and the role of government. Thinkers like John Locke and Montesquieu argued for the rights of individuals, laying the foundation for modern democracy. Their works inspired revolutions across the globe. In 1776, the American colonies took a bold stand against British rule, declaring their independence. The Declaration of Independence articulated the idea that governments derive their power from the consent of the governed. This radical concept resonated far beyond the shores of America. As American revolutionaries fought for their rights, ideas of self-governance and individual freedoms spread to Europe. The success of the American Revolution served as a powerful example for those in France who sought change. It ignited hopes for liberty and justice across the Atlantic. In France, discontent simmered under the weight of monarchy and inequality. The Estates General convened in 1789, providing a platform for the oppressed classes to voice their grievances. This assembly would set the stage for revolutionary fervor that would sweep the nation. The storming of the Bastille on July 14, 1789, marked a turning point in the French Revolution. It symbolized the overthrow of tyranny and the fight for freedom. This iconic event rallied the citizens, igniting a passion for revolutionary change. As the revolution progressed, the Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen was adopted, proclaiming the principles of liberty and equality. This document laid the groundwork for modern human rights, pushing forward the agenda of universal freedoms. However, the revolution soon spiraled into chaos. The Reign of Terror saw thousands executed in the name of liberty. This dark chapter illustrated the complexities of revolutionary change, where ideals sometimes clashed with reality. The rise of figures like Maximilien Robespierre highlighted the struggle between liberty and authority. His radical approach polarized the revolutionaries and ultimately led to his own downfall. This tension remains relevant in discussions of power and governance today. With the fall of Robespierre, the revolution entered a new phase. The Directory sought to stabilize France, yet corruption and political instability continued to plague the nation. The revolutionary spirit was far from extinguished. Amidst the turmoil, Napoleon Bonaparte emerged as a powerful leader. He promised order and stability, capitalizing on the revolutionary sentiments. His rise to power marked a significant shift in the trajectory of France and Europe. Napoleon's conquests spread revolutionary ideas throughout Europe, challenging monarchies and altering political landscapes. His Napoleonic Code established legal reforms that echoed Enlightenment principles, emphasizing equality and legal rights. The ideals of the Age of Revolution did not remain contained within Europe. Inspired by the American and French revolutions, Latin America began its own fight for independence in the early 19th century. Leaders like Simón Bolívar and José de San Martín emerged. As revolutions ignited across the globe, the interconnectedness of ideas became evident. The notions of democracy, citizenship, and rights spread like wildfire, influencing movements far from their origin. The Age of Revolution was a true catalyst for global change. The legacy of the Age of Revolution continues to impact modern society. The concepts of liberty, equality, and fraternity remain central to democratic movements worldwide. Reflecting on this era helps us understand the ongoing struggles for justice and rights today. The Age of Revolution was more than a series of events. It was a profound transformation of human thought. As we navigate today's world, the echoes of 18th century ideals remind us of the continuing fight for freedom and justice. The winds of change swept through the 18th century, igniting a fervor for liberty. Enlightenment thinkers like John Locke and Jean-Jacques Rousseau inspired the masses with radical ideas. Their writings questioned established authority and championed the rights of the individual, laying the foundation for revolutions yet to come. As the American colonies rebelled against British rule, their cries for independence resonated across the Atlantic. The Declaration of Independence, signed in 1776, became a beacon of hope for those yearning for self-governance. It articulated principles that would resonate globally, including the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Meanwhile, in France, the seeds of revolution were taking root. The disparity between the nobility and the common people led to widespread discontent. The Estates General convened in 1789, marking the first step toward a complete upheaval of the existing order as citizens demanded a voice in their governance. The storming of the Bastille on July 14, 1789 symbolized the fight against tyranny. This iconic event not only galvanized French revolutionaries, but also inspired uprisings in other parts of Europe. The Bastille became a powerful symbol of liberation, showcasing the people's anger against oppression. Following the fall of the Bastille, the National Assembly emerged, proclaiming the Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen. This document echoed Enlightenment ideals, affirming individual rights and the principles of equality. It marked a pivotal moment in the movement towards democracy in France. The revolution unleashed waves of political upheaval, leading to the Reign of Terror. During this turbulent period, radical leaders sought to eliminate perceived enemies of the revolution. The guillotine became a grim symbol of the conflict, emphasizing the dark side of revolutionary fervor. Europe watched in awe and fear as revolutionary ideas spread. Nations grappled with the implications of popular sovereignty and civil rights. In Britain, influential voices emerged, advocating for reform in the face of revolutionary fervor across the Channel, sparking debates that would shape future governance. The Haitian Revolution, inspired by the ideals of liberty and equality, unfolded amidst the chaos of the French Revolution. Enslaved Africans fought against colonial oppression, leading to the first successful slave revolt. Haiti's independence in 1804 sent shockwaves through the colonial world, challenging the status quo. In the aftermath of the French Revolution, the rise of Napoleon Bonaparte marked a dramatic shift. He spread revolutionary ideals across Europe through conquest, but his authoritarian rule contradicted the very principles of democracy. The irony of his empire, forged from revolutionary ideals, reflects the complexities of political change. The Congress of Vienna in 1815 sought to restore order after the upheaval of revolutions. European powers aimed to rebalance authority and suppress revolutionary fervor. However, the ideals of the Age of Revolution lingered, hidden beneath the surface, ready to inspire future generations. Romanticism emerged as a cultural response to the tumult of revolution, celebrating individualism and emotion. Artists and writers expressed the struggles and aspirations of the age, paving the way for new forms of expression that resonated with the revolutionary spirit. As the 19th century dawned, the echoes of revolution transformed political landscapes across Europe. Nationalism began to rise, intertwining with revolutionary ideals, as diverse groups sought self-determination. These developments would lay the groundwork for future conflicts and movements. In Germany, thinkers like Johann Gottfried Herder championed the concept of Volk, advocating for a national identity rooted in culture and language. This burgeoning nationalism would later fuel the quest for unification, showcasing the interplay between revolutionary ideas and national consciousness. Simultaneously, in Italy, figures such as Giuseppe Mazzini rallied for a unified nation-state. His vision relied on the principles of liberty and national identity, further fusing revolutionary ideals with emerging nationalistic sentiments that would impact the continent for decades. In a parallel movement, the Greek War of Independence sparked a battle against Ottoman rule. Inspired by European revolutionary ideals, Greeks fought for sovereignty, showcasing how the Age of Revolution ignited aspirations of freedom worldwide. The impact of revolutionary thought extended beyond Europe, reaching the Americas and beyond. Movements in Latin America began to echo the sentiments of independence seen in the United States and France, showcasing the universal appeal of the quest for liberty. Leaders like Simón Bolívar emerged, inspired by Enlightenment ideals and the American Revolution. His vision for a united South America reflected the interconnectedness of revolutionary movements, emphasizing how one struggle often ignited another across borders. The Age of Revolution also prompted discussions about social issues. Movements advocating for women's rights began to surface, as women like Olympe de Gouges argued for equality, challenging traditional gender roles, and seeking a place in the narrative of liberty. Amidst these transformative movements, the abolitionist movement gained momentum, advocating for the end of slavery. Inspired by revolutionary ideas, activists fought against the moral and ethical implications of human bondage, igniting a global dialogue about freedom and human rights. The scientific revolution also played a role in this transformative era. New ideas about governance and society emerged from advancements in thought, as thinkers began to apply reason and empirical methods to understand political structures, influencing revolutionary ideology. As the era progressed, revolutions inspired a wave of collective movements. Workers began to unite for better conditions, laying the groundwork for labor rights as the Industrial Revolution began to reshape society, intertwining economic struggles with the earlier ideals of freedom and equality. The spread of revolutionary thought continued into the 19th century, igniting ideas of socialism and communism. Thinkers like Karl Marx critiqued capitalist societies, advocating for a classless system that appealed to the disenfranchised, further altering the global political landscape. By the mid-19th century, revolutions erupted across Europe, as nations sought to overturn conservative regimes. The 1848 revolutions, known as the Springtime of Nations, showcased the enduring power of revolutionary ideas, demonstrating the widespread desire for political change. These revolutions, however, led to mixed outcomes. While some nations experienced reforms, others faced suppression and defeat. The struggle for rights and representation continued, highlighting the complexity of revolution and the ongoing quest for equality. Throughout this period, the concept of citizenship evolved significantly. The idea of citizens participating in governance became a crucial principle, reflecting the revolutionary spirit that permeated societies. This shift laid the groundwork for modern democratic systems. The Age of Revolution was a complex tapestry of ideas, struggles, and aspirations. Each event was interwoven with the next, creating a global narrative that transcended borders. The ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity became a guiding light for movements well into the future. As we continue to reflect on the Age of Revolution, the lessons learned resonate today. The quest for justice and equality continues to inspire modern movements around the world. Understanding this era helps illuminate the path toward a more equitable future. In the face of ongoing struggles, the revolutionary ideals of the 18th century remain alive. As societies grapple with issues of governance, rights, and identity, the echoes of past revolutions remind us of the power of collective action against oppression. The Age of Revolution forged the foundations of modern society, shaping our understanding of liberty and rights. As we explore how these revolutionary ideals continue to impact our world, the journey is far from over. Unpacking the legacies of this transformative era leads us to appreciate the ongoing significance of the fight for justice and freedom in our lives today. As revolutionary sentiments swept across Europe, the Enlightenment thinkers ignited a fervor for change. Philosophers like John Locke argued for the natural rights of man, influencing public opinion against tyranny. His ideas sparked discussions that would culminate in calls for political upheaval and a quest for liberty. In America, the struggle for independence was fueled by the belief that government should be by the consent of the governed. The Declaration of Independence articulated these revolutionary ideals, proclaiming that all men are created equal. This declaration would resonate across the Atlantic, inspiring European revolutionaries. As news of American success spread, French intellectuals and citizens drew parallels to their own plight under monarchy. The French Revolution was brewing, fueled by hunger, inequality, and disenfranchisement. Revolutionary pamphlets filled the streets, igniting a passion for change amongst the masses. The Estates General convened in 1789, revealing deep divisions within French society. The Third Estate, representing the common people, sought rights and representation. Their demands would soon explode into the storming of the Bastille, a pivotal moment in the quest for liberty and equality. The fall of the Bastille symbolized the end of absolute monarchy and the birth of a new era. This event inspired revolutionaries across Europe, igniting hopes for democracy and rights. The Declaration of the Rights of Man and Citizen would soon follow, enshrining principles of freedom and equality. However, the revolution was fraught with internal divisions. Radical factions emerged, and the Reign of Terror terrorized the nation. Revolutionary leaders turned against each other, leading to a climate of fear that would shape the course of the revolution and redefine the meaning of liberty. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, the French Revolution had a profound influence on the Latin American independence movements. Leaders such as Simón Bolívar were inspired by the ideals of liberty and self-determination, envisioning a future free from colonial rule. This era of revolution was truly global. In the wake of revolution, Europe faced a wave of nationalism. The struggle for identity became intertwined with the quest for political rights. Countries began to grapple with the concepts of nationhood and democracy, fostering movements that would challenge the old order. The Napoleonic Wars emerged from the revolutionary fervor, with Napoleon Bonaparte rising to power in the chaos. He spread revolutionary ideals across Europe, yet his authoritarian rule also sparked a paradox of freedom. The dream of liberty faced new threats from within. Despite the challenges, the age of revolution laid the groundwork for modern political thought. The ideals of popular sovereignty and civil rights became fundamental to later democratic movements. The echoes of these 18th century revolutions continue to resonate in contemporary struggles for justice. As the revolutionaries sought to establish new governments, the question of how to govern effectively became paramount. Different models emerged, from republicanism to constitutional monarchies, each vying for legitimacy in a rapidly changing political landscape. The aftermath of the revolutions saw a period of reactionary politics, as monarchies attempted to reassert control. The Congress of Vienna aimed to restore the old order, but the revolutionary spirit remained alive, challenging the legitimacy of traditional authority in Europe. As the 19th century unfolded, the ideals of the Age of Revolution continued to inspire movements across the globe. The abolition of slavery gained momentum, fueled by the same principles of freedom and equality that had ignited the revolutions. Activists rallied for human rights in the face of oppression. The sentiment for workers' rights also emerged as industrialization transformed society. Labor movements began to organize, demanding fair wages and working conditions. The revolutionary ideals of the previous century found new life in the fight for social justice. In the United States, the legacy of the revolution saw the rise of various reform movements throughout the 19th century. Women's suffrage, civil rights, and the quest for social equity became intertwined with the revolutionary ethos. The fight for justice evolved into a broader struggle for inclusivity. Meanwhile, European nations grappled with the concept of nationalism, leading to a series of revolutions in 1848. Known as the Springtime of Nations, this wave of uprisings sought to establish democratic governments and national unity amidst a backdrop of social unrest. The revolutions of 1848, though ultimately suppressed, planted the seeds for future movements. The ideas of socialism began to circulate, challenging the capitalist status quo. Thinkers like Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels emerged, advocating for workers' rights and equality. As the century progressed, imperialism became a prominent force. reshaping global dynamics. The revolutionary ideals of liberty and equality were paradoxically used to justify colonial expansion, illustrating the complexities of freedom in a global context. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the legacy of the Age of Revolution continued to influence political movements worldwide. The push for suffrage, labor rights, and social reforms gained momentum, reflecting the persistent quest for justice. World War I marked a turning point, as the ideals of democracy and self-determination were put to the test. The war's aftermath led to the collapse of empires and the emergence of new nations, reshaping the global landscape and offering another opportunity for revolutionary change. The interwar period witnessed the rise of totalitarian regimes, challenging the ideals of the revolutions that preceded them. The struggle for freedom and rights became a defining aspect of this tumultuous time, as citizens sought to reclaim their voices amidst oppression. As Europe plunged into World War II, the revolutionary ideals were once again at the forefront. The fight against fascism and tyranny galvanized populations, uniting them under the banner of liberty. The lessons of the Age of Revolution became paramount in this fierce struggle. Post-war Europe saw a renewed commitment to the principles of democracy and human rights. The establishment of international institutions aimed to safeguard the ideals born from the revolutions. Yet, the struggle for equality and justice persisted on various fronts. The civil rights movements of the 1960s in the United States echoed the revolutionary fervor of the past, as activists fought against systemic racism and inequality. Leaders like Martin Luther King Jr. inspired a new generation rediscovering the power of peaceful protest in the quest for rights. Globally, the late 20th century witnessed a surge in movements for democracy and human rights. The fall of the Berlin Wall symbolized the triumph of revolutionary ideals against oppressive regimes, reinforcing the belief in freedom as a universal aspiration. As the 21st century unfolded, the legacy of the Age of Revolution remained present in ongoing struggles for justice and rights. From the Arab Spring to Black Lives Matter, activists draw on the revolutionary ideas of the past to challenge systemic injustices. The power of social media has transformed activism, providing new platforms for voices advocating for change. In this digital age, the revolutionary spirit thrives as citizens mobilize and share ideas across borders, continuing the quest for liberty. Despite progress, the struggle for equality remains fraught with challenges. The rise of authoritarianism in various parts of the world serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of freedom. Vigilance and activism are essential to uphold the ideals of the Age of Revolution. In the face of adversity, the resilience of human spirit continues to shine through. The revolutionary ideals that once transformed nations now inspire individual acts of courage. Each voice counts in the ongoing fight for justice, echoing through generations. As we examine the journey of the Age of Revolution, it becomes clear that the fight for rights is ongoing. Each revolution, each movement builds upon the last, creating a tapestry of struggle and triumph. The ideals of liberty and equality remain vital to our shared human experience. Emerging from this historical narrative are powerful lessons about the importance of engagement. As citizens, remaining informed and active in the democratic process is essential to ensure that the voices of the oppressed are heard. History urges us to reflect and act. The Age of Revolution illustrates how ideas can spark profound changes in society. From the streets of Paris to the halls of power, the spirit of revolution underscores the quest for dignity and respect. The journey of these ideals continues to shape our world today. Looking forward, the challenge lies not only in preserving the gains of past revolutions, but also in continuing to push for progress. Today's youth, inspired by historical movements, carry the torch of advocacy forward in innovative ways, ensuring that the struggle for rights remains alive. As the global landscape evolves, the interplay between tradition and modernity becomes increasingly complex. The revolutionary ideals of the 18th century provide a framework for addressing contemporary issues, including climate change and social justice. Ultimately, the reflection on the age of revolution reveals how interconnected our struggles are. The quest for justice transcends borders and cultures, uniting people across the globe in a shared mission for equality and rights that were once deemed revolutionary. In recognizing the global implications of the Age of Revolution, we see how history continues to inform present and future actions. The principles of justice and equality remain at the heart of global dialogues, reminding us that the fight for rights is a collective journey. Moreover, the cultural legacies of the revolutions, including art, literature, and philosophy, shape our understanding of freedom today. The voices of revolutionary writers and artists continue to inspire modern narratives of resistance and resilience. As we engage with these ideas, it becomes clear that the Age of Revolution was not just a moment in time, but an ongoing process. The ideals born from the struggles of the past continue to evolve, reminding us of our responsibility to advocate for justice in our own time. In conclusion, while the historical revolutions forged significant pathways for rights and freedoms, the ongoing struggle highlights the importance of vigilance and commitment. The fight for equality, inspired by the Age of Revolution, remains one of humanity's greatest challenges. The legacy of the Age of Revolution lives on in the continuous quest for justice, equality, and rights for all. As we reflect on our past, let us remain inspired to advocate for a better future, ensuring that the ideals of liberty and freedom are upheld for generations to come. With the ideals of liberty echoing across the Atlantic, the American Revolution set a powerful precedent. The Declaration of Independence, penned in 1776, introduced radical notions of governance that challenged traditional monarchy. This document served not only as a national manifesto, but as a beacon for oppressed populations worldwide. The success of the American Revolution inspired European thinkers such as Thomas Paine and John Locke. Their writings propagated the idea that government should be based on the consent of the governed, and that individuals had inherent rights. This was a radical departure from centuries of monarchy and oppression in Europe. As Enlightenment ideas flourished, France found itself in turmoil. The financial crisis of the late 1780s exacerbated social inequality, leading to widespread discontent among the Third Estate. They began to question the legitimacy of a system that favored the nobility and clergy. In 1789, the spark ignited when the Third Estate declared itself the National Assembly. This bold move marked the beginning of a radical transformation in France. The oath taken at the tennis court symbolized their determination to create a new political order based on equality and justice. The storming of the Bastille on July 14, 1789, became a symbol of the revolution. This act of defiance against tyranny resonated beyond France, inspiring movements across Europe. The Bastille's fall represented the triumph of the people over oppression. The Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen, adopted in August 1789, formalized the revolutionary ideals. It proclaimed the rights of individuals and the principles of popular sovereignty. This influential document laid the groundwork for modern human rights. As revolutionary fervor spread, the idea of nationalism began to take root. Citizens embraced their identity, united by shared language, culture, and history. This sense of belonging was revolutionary in itself and fueled further political movements across Europe. The French Revolution led to the rise of radical groups, including the Jacobins. Their leader, Maximilien Robespierre, advocated for the Reign of Terror as a means to protect the revolution. This period was marked by intense political purges and social upheaval. The fall of monarchy in France sent shockwaves through Europe, prompting revolutions in neighboring countries, such as Belgium and the Netherlands. People began to demand their own rights and freedoms, inspired by the French example. In the wake of these upheavals, the concept of democracy began to transform. Citizens increasingly sought representation in government, rejecting the old aristocratic order. The notion that power should derive from the people was revolutionary for its time. As revolutions unfolded, artistic movements began reflecting the changing societal values. Romanticism emerged as a response to the Enlightenment's rationalism, emphasizing emotion, nature, and the human experience. Artists like Eugène Delacroix captured the revolutionary spirit through vivid imagery. The aftermath of the revolution saw the rise of Napoleon Bonaparte, who promised stability in the chaotic political landscape. His rise to power marked a significant shift as he sought to export revolutionary ideals across Europe, albeit through military conquest. Napoleon's reforms, including the Napoleonic Code, established legal equality and civil liberties. These changes influenced legal systems far beyond France, laying the foundation for modern legal frameworks across Europe. However, the empire he built sparked opposition and resistance. Nationalist movements, inspired by revolutionary ideals, sought self-determination and independence from foreign rule. The concept of national sovereignty gained momentum as a direct result of these tensions. By the early 19th century, the consequences of the Age of Revolution were evident. The balance of power in Europe was shifting as newly formed nations began asserting their identities. The revolutionary ideals of liberty and equality were no longer confined to France and America. The Congress of Vienna in 1815 aimed to restore order after the Napoleonic Wars. Statesmen sought to suppress revolutionary movements and maintain the status quo. Yet the ideas of democracy and nationalism could not be easily extinguished. Despite attempts to stifle revolutionary fervor, the seeds of change had been planted. Young intellectuals and activists began forming new political ideologies, paving the way for future revolutions. The spirit of the Age of Revolution continued to inspire generations. Between 1830 and 1848, a wave of revolutions swept across Europe, known as the Revolutions of 1830 and 1848. These uprisings were fueled by demands for political reform, social justice, and national independence, resonating with the ideals that emerged during the earlier revolutions. The revolutions of 1848, in particular, had a profound impact. Across France, Germany, and Italy, citizens demanded democratic governance and social reforms. Though many of these revolutions were suppressed, they demonstrated the enduring desire for change among the populace. As the 19th century progressed, the ideals of the Age of Revolution continued to shape political discourse. Intellectuals like Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels critiqued the capitalist systems that emerged, advocating for a revolution of the working class. The publication of the Communist Manifesto in 1848 marked a turning point in revolutionary thought. Marx and Engels called upon workers of the world to unite, emphasizing the exploitation of the working class and the need for social change. By the late 19th century, the ideas of revolution began taking root in various movements worldwide. From labor strikes to suffrage campaigns, the legacy of the Age of Revolution inspired diverse struggles for rights and freedoms across continents. In Asia, the ripple effects of the Age of Revolution influenced various uprisings. The Taiping Rebellion in China sought to overthrow dynastic rule, driven by similar ideals of equality and justice. The revolutionary spirit crossed not just borders, but cultures. The impact of the Age of Revolution was also felt in Latin America. Leaders like Simón Bolívar and José de San Martín fought for independence from colonial powers, inspired by Enlightenment principles and the successes of earlier revolutions. As the 20th century approached, the revolutionary ideas continued to evolve. Socialism, anarchism, and nationalism emerged as influential ideologies, each shaped by the experiences and outcomes of the revolutions that preceded them. The legacies of revolutionary movements paved the way for critical changes in governance and society. The struggles for civil rights, labor rights, and women's suffrage were fueled by the aspirations formed during the Age of Revolution. In the 20th century, world wars further reshaped political landscapes. The ideologies that emerged in the wake of the Age of Revolution influenced the movements for independence and decolonization worldwide as nations sought to define their identities. As nations emerged from colonial rule, the ideals of freedom, equality, and justice continued to resonate. Leaders like Nelson Mandela in South Africa and Mahatma Gandhi in India embodied the revolutionary spirit, advocating for change through nonviolent means. The end of the 20th century witnessed new challenges to democracy and human rights. The ideals of the Age of Revolution faced threats from authoritarian regimes and economic inequality, prompting renewed calls for activism around the globe. Today, the echoes of the Age of Revolution resonate in contemporary movements for justice, equality, and climate change. Activists draw upon the rich history of revolutionary ideas as they fight for a more equitable future, reminding us that the quest for rights continues. As societies grapple with the challenges of the 21st century, the lessons of the Age of Revolution remain relevant. The pursuit of liberty and justice for all continues to inspire new generations, urging them to reflect on their role in shaping the future. The journey of the Age of Revolution reminds us that the struggle for rights is ongoing. Each generation carries the torch of change, inspired by the ideals of the past as they forge a path towards a brighter, more just future. The echoes of revolution resonated across the Atlantic as the American colonies declared their independence. Influenced by Enlightenment thinkers, their quest for self-governance ignited a fire of change. This bold step not only challenged British authority, but also inspired oppressed voices worldwide. As news of the American Revolution spread, it sparked intense debates in France. French intellectuals and commoners alike began to question their own monarchy's oppressive rule. This climate of unrest sowed the seeds for a revolution that would forever alter the course of French history. In 1789, the French Revolution erupted, fueled by social inequality and the desire for liberty. The storming of the Bastille became a powerful symbol of the people's revolt against tyranny. Citizens united, demanding not only rights but a complete transformation of their society. As revolutionary fervor spread, radical ideas gained momentum. The Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen encapsulated the revolutionary spirit, proclaiming equality and freedom. This pivotal document inspired future generations in their fight for justice. Amidst the chaos, figures like Maximilien Robespierre emerged, advocating for extreme measures to defend the revolution. The Reign of Terror saw thousands executed, highlighting the revolution's darker side. The very ideals of liberty began to clash with the reality of violence. Despite the turmoil, the revolution laid the groundwork for modern democracy in France. The idea that sovereignty belongs to the people began to take root. As new governmental structures emerged, citizens began to realize their power in shaping their destiny. The impact of these revolutions transcended borders, inspiring uprisings in other parts of Europe. From the Italian states to the German principalities, revolutionary fervor ignited movements for unity and national identity. The idea of the nation-state began to flourish. In the wake of revolution, the concept of rights continued to evolve. Abolitionists and suffragists drew inspiration from the revolutionary ethos, advocating for the end of slavery and the expansion of suffrage. The ideals of the 18th century echoed in these new movements. European powers, witnessing the revolutionary flames, reacted with both fear and repression. Monarchies sought to quell the spread of revolutionary ideas, leading to a series of conflicts and wars. The struggle for freedom was met with fierce resistance. However, the revolutionary ideals could not be silenced. They persisted, influencing various movements throughout the 19th century. The revolutions of 1848, known as the Springtime of Nations, saw a wave of uprisings across Europe, embodying the ongoing quest for rights and democracy. As the century progressed, the ideas born from these revolutions began to crystallize into political doctrines. Socialism, nationalism, and liberalism emerged as influential ideologies, shaping the political landscape of Europe and beyond. The Age of Revolution culminated in a profound transformation of societal norms and governance. The belief in popular sovereignty and civil rights would continue to forge paths toward change in societies worldwide. These ideals became a blueprint for future generations. The legacy of the Age of Revolution serves as a reminder that the fight for justice, liberty, and equality is a continuous journey. Each generation must reflect on these ideals and strive to honor the sacrifices made by those who came before them, ensuring a better future for all. As we conclude this exploration of the Age of Revolution, let us remember that the power of ideas continues to shape our world today. The struggles of the past illuminate our paths forward, urging us to advocate for the rights and freedoms we hold dear in an ever-changing landscape.